We went from doing 20 grand debt to like over 400, $500,000 in debt. So, yeah, take the risk.
Today we're here with the force behind Blends, the smoothie bar that is popping up in the hottest gyms. We are now in their brick and mortar location that is not yet open, but coming very soon, So stay tuned for that. Currently here with Gianni. I'm going to let him introduce Blends a little bit more for you guys and so you can get a better understanding of what it is. And then we'll get into the questions.
What's up, guys? My name is Gianni. So Blends, man. Blends started off as just smoothies, and now we're transitioning to a whole other world. So you could call us pretty much a fast casual cafe coming into Miami, but with a fitness aspect to it. And yeah, you guys aren't ready. We're gonna have blends of food, blends of coffee, blends of smoothies, blends of everything. So that's kind of the concept behind the name. And let's get right into it.
So first question, can you break down how Blends works step by step? You know, what it goes into it, how you came up with the idea of Blends, and, you know, just...
Okay. So I guess long story short, right? I used to be a personal trainer. I worked a little bit on online coaching, and I was kind of tired of it. I really didn't want to pursue that route anymore. But I still wanted to be in the fitness game. I loved the gym. I loved being around everything that involved fitness. And I didn't really want to focus on like creating content either. So for me, I guess I looked at a gym one day and I was like, you know, if I put a smoothie bar there, like I'm still here in the gym, but I can like run a business. It was just an idea, right? And the idea turned into what we're standing in here today, 5 years later. So that's kind of how we started it. And we've made a lot of mistakes throughout the way. And it has evolved a lot throughout this whole process. But that was kind of the need for it, a desperation to change what I was doing and also free up my time and make money in that process. So that's kind of how Blends kind of started, really.
Did you see success from the beginning?
I'm a very optimistic person, I would say. So I never really doubted the success part. I was just more scared of like, how do I do this? Like I had no experience. I had never worked in a restaurant. I had never worked as a server or a cook or anything like that. Besides cooking my own meal prep, I didn't do any of that. So for me, it was just kind of like, how do I start this? But I'm very much a researcher. I sit down and I'll think about something for a few months or weeks and I'll figure it all out and I just execute. So that's kind of like the reasoning behind it, you know?
Okay, so you said that there were some mistakes that were made on the process to get to this point.
Sheesh.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the mistakes that were made? Maybe, you know, monetary, maybe just business transactions that didn't go well. Something that you know, if you feel comfortable telling us about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, every mistake you could think of, I've probably made. And that's just being as honest as possible. I think, let's summarize it into three. I think at least three that I think were pivotal for me. One, since I didn't have any experience in like the kitchen aspect of it, I only built out locations, one, from the amount of money I had available, but I built them out what I thought was needed for me to run the business smoothly for customers versus thinking more so how do I build a kitchen or how do I build a space that's comfortable for my staff? Because when I wanted to scale, it became an issue of it wasn't functional at all. So I ran into that issue and it made me a slave to my business. So I was working 18-hour days. Like I couldn't make more smoothies because I didn't have the right blenders. I couldn't function properly because my capacity to serve others wasn't fully built out correctly. So that was definitely one big learning curve. The second learning curve was managing finances. There was a point where I started to make like, I would say decent money, and it's not all your money, you know? So pay your taxes. And I would say the third is learning how to manage a team. Definitely in the beginning, I wasn't the best leader. I wasn't the best boss. I wasn't, let's say, experienced in that aspect. So for me, it took a little bit of time. And unfortunately, it caused tension between my earlier employees or partners or whatever you want to call it. And, you know, you have to go through these things to like become better. So if you're scared to just start, that's the only way you're going to get better, just doing it. And, you know, 5 years later, I feel a lot more comfortable with all these things. So I would say those three main mistakes
And when you came into the business, did you have to take a loan? Did you have money saved up?
Cool.
Were you taking a big risk? Were you putting yourself out there, and if you lost it all, like that's it? Or was it something that, you kind of felt comfortable at least a little bit doing?
So to keep it real, I had no money when I first started this. And my first location, I had to ask my girlfriend's mom for money because my parents didn't have money. And at the end, my mom had to like send me $500, whatever. So the first time it was like $6,000. After that experience, it was more like building credit. So I did it through credit cards. So it wasn't that big of an amount, but it was still like 20 grand, 25 grand, something like that. And then now we're standing in a brick and mortar, which it's been 5 years since I started this in 2019, end of 2019. So we're going into, basically 5 years, almost 6. And this location has been expensive. So let's just say, keep your credit good, do your research before you look for financing, and don't be scared to like throw yourself in the water because that is debt. But if you know what you're doing, you're fine. I've never had a location that wasn't profitable.
Okay.
So that kind of gave me the confidence to come into this. But we went from doing 20 grand debt to like over $400,000-$500,000 in debt. So yeah, take the risk.
So okay, if you think, I always hear people talk about how debt's bad, don't get into debt. Do you think that it can work into your advantage in some areas, especially when you're starting business?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to think of debt as buying time in a way, at least in my opinion. Most of the time, especially in the beginning, you're not going to have the money. So if you get into reasonable debt, I think like a calculated risk where like the monthly payment isn't something that in your business model you can't afford. Like for example, if doing this project I had to pay 20 grand a month in like debt, I'd be like, yeah, no, there's no way, right? So you got to look at the pros and the cons of debt. The pros is you get to scale your business and you get the capital to do more things in your business. And if you're smart with it, it'll pay itself off.
Yeah.
But also, you have to take risks. Like coming into this, I did not think a brick and mortar would cost me $500,000. I originally thought it was going to cost me 150 grand, and we're well above that. So it is scary. It's scary, but you get to figure it out,
100%.
Yeah.
So what do you think the common misconceptions are when starting a healthy food company?
So I would say definitely, I guess in my opinion, I'd say I see a lot of people that are in like the health and fitness world get into the space and have no idea what like the market actually demands or like what they actually like. And so you see them a few months down the line, a few weeks down the line, not successful or not doing as well as they want to. And I think it's just because the person or the entity behind that business isn't truly in that world, So I think that's kind of like the biggest issue. And I think that they think it's going to be easy because they see so many people that are looking to be healthy now and running and going to gyms and classes and stuff like that. So they think that the market is going to be easy to access, which it is. There's a lot of people, which is great. But if the brains behind it don't fully understand the demand of what they ask for, you're not going to like hit. Because think about it. Would you eat a burger anywhere? You'd probably be like, okay, well, I can buy a burger anywhere. Sure. But like when you're trying to be healthy, typically people are more picky. And so if you're not 100% certain that what product you're going to provide is going to do what it's supposed to do for that person, then you're going to always meet with a no. Like the least healthiest people are typically always the ones that are the most critiquey.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a lot of your market because you're selling to people that want to be healthy. Healthy people either cook at home or they have their preferred vendor. So to get somebody to buy from you, you have to make sure that you know what you're doing.
100%.
So I think the biggest misconception, they think is going to be easy. It's not as easy as it seems,
And so what do you think, how much do you think trends play a part in a business like this? Do you follow them? Do you kind of, sprinkle them in here just to keep the business alive? Or do you not really focus on that side of things at all?
So in the beginning, I would honestly say I had no headspace for it. I thought, because I'm not really like me myself, I'm not really like a trend follower, you can say. maybe certain things if I really like it, but like overall, like if I see something on Instagram, I'm not gonna be like, I have to do that.
Yeah.
But in business, I definitely think you need to sprinkle it often. I wouldn't say make it your whole business model, but I think you do need to sprinkle it to keep it, bring new faces and, new energy, especially through social media. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're great at it. So you know that a video that's trending could possibly bring you a lot of followers.
Yeah.
So, and followers means more clients in an essence, in some way. So I definitely think that sprinkling is completely necessary.
And do you think this business, any business, do you think social media is an important part now these days? Are you one that are against it? How's the best way, or at least that you've noticed your businesses have grown?
So when I started this whole process, I would say that social media was always very important to me, but I never gave it the time and energy or money that it fully deserves. Now, especially with this big project, branding, social media, the way just everything ties in together, marketing in an aspect is a huge part of what I'm doing right now. And I think that it can make or break you. I definitely think it can make or break you, especially in a competitive market like Miami.
Yeah.
So I think you have to do it.
100%. And you mentioned Miami. Do you think that it's more difficult to start a business here than anywhere? Now, I know that Miami is a very health conscious place. Everyone wants to look good. So do you think starting this business here is easier than somewhere else? Or do you think it's more difficult because now there's a lot of competition that you have to fight for?
So I definitely think it depends on your perspective. I think that if you are naturally somebody that cares about competition, it's going to bother you. I think in my headspace, I see it as an opportunity because it's more of a market that I have access to.
Yeah.
I would just say that Miami is, you gotta do Miami things. You gotta be up to par.
Yeah.
Because either Miami community is gonna make you or they're gonna break you. You know what I mean? So I would definitely say that in my case, I don't really care about the competition. If anything, I embrace it just because it gives people more options, especially there's so many people here. I think if you lived like in a small town or somewhere where maybe being healthy isn't normal, I would be a little bit more concerned to do it there. But yeah, Miami will break you or make you. Very, very simple.
And I mean, I'm a believer that I think, there's enough of the pie to go around, especially if you're doing things right.
Right, correct. If you're doing things the right way, you shouldn't have to worry about Pepito opening up 2 blocks away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll buy from you and they'll buy from him.
Exactly. Now, we just talked about being in Miami, a very competitive space. You said that you noticed gaps in the market in this healthy space business. How did you identify them? And then how did you go about tackling them to make sure that you're able to fulfill those gaps for others?
So I would say being in actual gyms and having like smoothie bars in gyms throughout these past 5 years have definitely helped. I would definitely say that it has allowed me to meet all kinds of people in all different areas of Miami. And that has allowed me to sit back and see like, this works, this doesn't work, this is missing. And for blends, I would say I noticed that there was a lot of places that were really good at one thing, but then just didn't offer something else, which I get it.
Yeah.
Sometimes in business, you have to just focus on one thing. But for us, I would say that we're really trying to merge 2 particular ideas and make it into one. And I know that both communities work together. So for us, I don't know if, I've put it out there a few times, but we really want to focus on becoming a really good coffee shop.
Yeah.
But incorporating that healthy food aspect of it, because those are 2 markets that I think are very consistent in terms of business. And then there are 2 markets that are growing. I mean, the coffee industry is growing tremendously. The healthy food or health and fitness community is growing tremendously. And so if you are able to merge both of them together, I think you can create a really good product or space environment for people to just congregate and have a good time and do run clubs. You love to run and stuff like that. So that's kind of the vibe we're going for.
No, 100%. You're building a community rather than just building a store or a business in a sense, which is amazing. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Were you always planning on opening up in gyms? Like once you opened up your first location in gyms, was it, okay, now I see the space and I want to continue in this space, go expand in other gyms? Or did you think about, okay, one gym is okay, let me try something else?
Right. So when I had my first, you could say, successful smoothie bar inside of a gym, my mindset was automatically like, I'm gonna dominate the gym world. Like I want my smoothie bars on all the gyms, right? And I think that's almost, I would say, majority of people's mindset when they make a little bit of money and they start becoming a little successful. Like I wouldn't even say like successful, but just like I was making money. I could finally afford an apartment type of thing, right? So I was like, all right, cool. Like this works. But then being in that space, you're always at the mercy of what that gym or what that owner wants.
Yeah.
And so in retrospect, I mean, it's great because you get to build good relationships with different businesses and different owners, and that's great. But, you know, sometimes, like in any industry, there's, you know, some person doesn't like the other person, or sometimes they just want you exclusively to you. And so if that doesn't align with what you want and what your business wants, it can be a downfall. Now, I will say I've had some great relationships. I've had my own mistakes. We've had our own fallouts and stuff like that. But I would never say to the point where, you know, we're not like okay or we're not good in the long run. But I would definitely say that moving forward, I would probably focus more on brick and mortars.
Okay.
And possibly being associated with a gym.
Yeah.
Because I think it's different now. Like, think about it like this. You have 10 storefronts, or let's say 5. You have your own brand. You have your own entity. That gym is going to want you more now than you need them.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the issue that we ran into. We were only in gyms. And so it became this thing of like, oh, I thought you were just for me, versus like, that's not really what I'm trying to build.
Yeah.
And so now, you know, being with the first store and having a little bit more experience, I would definitely say that my main focus is to do more stores and have a really good partnership with exclusive gyms.
Okay.
That would be more like my mindset.
Yeah.
You know, not just rely on the gyms for business. Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, would you choose to go the typical 9-to-5 route, or would you do this all over again?
Oh, man. Okay, so I would definitely not go into a 9-to-5 that I don't like. And it has to be a 9-to-5 that genuinely gives me enough money where like I can have a lifestyle. I don't think I would be able to do a 9-to-5 ever again where it was like when I like, you know, worked at a retail store or something like that where like I just couldn't afford most things. I think it would have to be a 9-to-5 where like, you know, I'm working 9-to-5, like this is my life, but like, you know, I make good money. So like one offsets the other. So I would possibly do it. But a few years ago when I started making good money and like I had staff and like I could kind of take a step back after you experience like that. And we're like, I was genuinely working like 10 hours a week for that, like a good quality 10 hours, but it wasn't like a lot of work. And my business was growing. It was like functioning. It was saving money. I was taking my family out. Like I had control of my day. Once you experience that, I don't think you would go back to a 9-to-5. I really don't. I don't think so. I wouldn't.
No, 100%. You sacrifice essentially the, you know, security for freedom in a sense.
Yeah.
Being able to kind of do what you want when you want.
Correct.
You know, as long as you are staying on top of your business. And
I will say this: once you start to make good money, and let's say you're savvy with your money, you can start offsetting your money and making you more money type of thing. And so once you experience like that, I think the sense of security starts to go like higher. If anything, you feel like you're more secure than having a 9-to-5. Because think about it, like you could also just get fired.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
like I've seen people literally have a job for 10 years and like they're done.
Yeah.
You know, so
you never know. It's at the whim of the company or the boss. And instead of being your own, you know, creating your own destiny, doing your own thing and making sure that you're either successful or you're not.
But I will say this, in both 9-to-5s and entrepreneurship, if you're really smart with your money, don't spend all of it, invest it into like real estate or portfolios or whatever, and that gives you another sense of security. So I think it really just depends on what you truly desire, what makes you happy, and if the pros and cons are also worth it. Because, for example, when you start your business, everybody, you know, there's another misconception. I think people think, I'm going to start my business and in a year I'm going to be making money. Like I'm going to be able to take a step back. Like,
yeah,
it might not be like that. It might be like you're working more or twice as hard or twice as many hours.
Yeah.
And it could be for 2-3 years. You know, there was at one point where I was working about 18 hours a day for like 8 to 9 months straight.
Wow.
Just to be able to like afford one employee.
Yeah.
And then I was like, cut my hours in half.
Yeah.
So it depends. If you like the grind, cool. If you don't, get an invite.
Yeah.
I would just say.
No, 100%. And so you said you have a family. Would that have changed your decision if you had
No family?
if you had someone relying on you when you first started the business, a son, a daughter,
Oh, I see.
would that have dictated whether you take that risk or not?
That would be really hard. Yeah, because, I think when I went into business, I was a teenager or like, late teens, early 20s. And so I really didn't have anyone relying on me besides my dog. So I was like, okay, I got to buy $50 dog food. Yeah. Like, that's not that bad. It would have definitely been a way more calculated risk.
Yeah.
And I think that I also would have wasted less time because now it's like, I know I have XYZ relying on me. Let me hold in more. Let me maybe work a little harder. I don't know. I feel like my mindset would have been, I wouldn't say unfocused because I was focused, but I feel like I was also a kid.
Yeah. 100%.
So,
You get distracted by what kids get distracted by. You get a little money
just
too.
go to the gym at 12
100%.
versus like going at 5 a.m. you know? So things like that, it would have been harder. Yeah, it would definitely have been harder.
100%.
For sure.
Now that we've spoken about everything that you've gone through, is there any advice that you would give to the younger generation or just anybody looking to start in this business of healthy food, smoothies, meal prep, any little tips that you could give to somebody to maybe help them out?
Yeah, I would definitely say the first tip would be don't be an overthinker and overplanner. I think so many of us, especially like our generation, we're like too hesitant to start something or too like not confident enough to just like get out there, Maybe you don't want to like start it. Maybe you just want to work in it. I would say go work at a healthy cafe, go work at a meal prep company, go work at something that involves what you want to do. Do it for a few months, do it for a few weeks, get a feel for it, see if that's what you want to do. And it gives you experience in that space because experience is really gonna like mold your mindset on like what route you want to take your business or your dreams or your aspirations. When you have no experience, it's just a dream. Like it's just there like okay, like I love the idea of it, but do I actually love the process of it, right?
100%.
And I guess the second thing would be don't be afraid to make mistakes. I have made so many mistakes. I'm not gonna say I'm the mistake king, but like I've definitely made mistakes. Yeah. And at first I was very much a perfectionist, and it really doesn't work out that way. Like you're gonna want to be a perfectionist, and you're still gonna make a mistake, and then it's gonna kill your vibe. So just go with the intention of serving others and like putting your best foot forward, and make sure that those people or like the people that are trusting you to do business with or buy from you feel that you're trying your best, and now it's on you to like improve that mistake. But if you do those two things, I think you'll be more than okay. You'll be doing better than 99% of the population. Some people just literally make a mistake and quit. So if you just focus on that, just don't stop.
Gotta be resilient, always.
Resilient. So like these biceps.
So thank you for, I would say sitting, but standing with us in
Bad customer service.
No, you know what? Listen, it just means that we have to come back when it's open, try a coffee, let you guys know exactly how it is.
I heard he's the coffee king, so
Listen, I think coffee and fitness go hand in hand. We're all caffeine addicts, so I will be 100% back to definitely try this out.
Let's do it.
But do you have anything that you want to share, plug, Instagram? Let the people know exactly what you want them to know.
Guys, check us out on IG, Blends Nutrition. That's it. Simple, short, sweet. It's been a pleasure. I haven't really done many podcasts, so being on a podcast feels pretty good. Feels a little strange too. Trying to get comfortable.
Yeah, you gotta just get loose.
Looking forward to a lot of cool content. Here with On the Rise Miami. So follow their page too. Just make sure that you stay on tune, and maybe there's a part 2 after this. Who knows?
You never know, guys. If you like this, leave a comment. Let us know exactly where you want us to check out next. Check out On the Rise Miami. Make sure you're following us for all the new spots opening up in Miami, because I promise you there's a lot of them, and we are going to find the best ones for you.
Hey, I like that.